Hello, I'm Angela Princewill, and I was scrolling through my web browser, reading random articles, mostly useless stuff, but don't judge. That's my favorite way to pass my time, really. I just read random things. And I know you're randomly scrolling through TikTok as well, so we're not that different. And where I saw this article, and it's titled "Top Reasons Why Couples Get Divorced." And I thought I'll compare and contrast, what this article says with my experience as a divorce and family lawyer. So I did scroll through the first couple and I'm like, I'm going to stop and I'll surprise myself as I go along. So yeah, come along. So the first reason it says here is domestic violence. And yes, that is a big one. And this article clearly identifies that physical assault isn't the only form of domestic violence. Persistent blaming, intimidation, manipulation, financial abuse, different things like that. Those can all kind of fall under this umbrella of domestic violence. So, yes, in my experience, there's a lot of domestic violence out there. Unfortunately, it is still mostly women that are victims of domestic violence. So, we have a lot of work to do there as a society. The second reason, lack of compatibility. Um, I really don't know. Could be. I mean, I guess this is a no-brainer, but usually when I'm trying to think when people talk to me, are they necessarily saying, we don't do things together, we don't share the same values? I don't know. That just really comes up. It could be because by the time, a lot of couples or someone gets to the point where they're actually talking to me, things have become so muddled and they've come up with all these reasons of why they don't want to be with someone. So maybe I get to hear the bigger stuff and not just those I guess lack of compatibility is really not something that I hear as much. And reason number three here is physical appearance. It says drifting apart due to changes in each person's physical appearance may sound shallow and unfair. Go figure, it is very shallow and unfair, but it's sadly a real reason why some marriages end. Okay, so I can tell you, no one's ever told me that they ended their relationship because they did not like their partner's physical appearance. So, like the previous reason, it could be it's one of those things that no one tells me. Just this really doesn't sound good. So I'm glad no one told me this. So yeah, I don't know about that. Um, Substance abuse and addiction. Yes, it is. This one's yeah, I can confirm this one. Alcoholism, drug abuse, gambling. Yeah, these are, this is a huge one. The addiction sometimes ties into, sometimes the domestic violence that results out of that. Um, you know, Alcoholic partners becoming unattentive to children. It's just, I mean, this is obvious. I don't even need to say much about that. Gambling is one that is also very, I'm finding, I'm getting a lot of cases involving this. Thankfully, if there are any assets left, we can help and, by way of asking for an unequal division, and we can in that way sort of, you know, um, at least do right by the other party that wasn't gambling. But yes, it is. But a lot of cases we're seeing assets are completely diminished. Parties are now completely in debt because of one person's gambling addiction. And I mean, it's fair that the other party just doesn't want to be a part of this anymore. I have to add here though that when we're equalizing assets, we really don't equalize that. So debts that have now accrued, unfortunately, you may still leave that relationship with the debt, so which is sad. But yes, substance abuse and addiction is those are reasons that I see pretty often in why people go through a divorce or separation. Um, Another one is commitment problems. A breakdown in lines of commitment, one of the biggest predictors of divorce. Okay. Couples who don't communicate well aren't able to solve issues together and tend to create. Okay. I mean, I this is a no-brainer to me, the lack of communication, but no one comes to me saying, well, Angela, I'm going to break up with. with him or her or them because they're not great at communicating. Now that comes up in the context of dealing with issues. So it could be in the context of, okay, we can't. I would like to have a conversation and come up with our settlement without necessarily having the lawyers work out every detail. We could do this ourselves, but they don't communicate. So it could come up in that context, or even with parenting, it's a huge factor because if you're going to make decisions with someone, they need to be good communicators. But I usually don't hear that as the reason for the divorce, but I it's a problem that generally manifests in people dealing with life after separation. I lost count of where I am, but another reason that's here is marrying too young. And people, okay, that doesn't even make, I mean, it makes sense to some extent, but I guess it's the top reasons why people divorce. I can only say no one tells me that. So I'm just gonna move past that with no comment. Um, Getting married for the wrong reasons. Yeah, you know what? I was actually going to, kind of slide by this one, but it's really not, it really is true. I have had people that have gotten married for the wrong reasons. And two specific examples that come to mind right away are people that get married because it's arranged by family and they didn't really feel any emotions for the person and kind of hoped that, eventually they will, grow to love the person and have a great marriage. Now, I'm no guru. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of love first and then marriage next, but I do know that there's very successful marriages that have been arranged. But it's not just the fact of the arranged marriage, it's the fact that they don't necessarily even want to do it, but because they want to please their parents or family, that they end up marrying someone. And this even comes up actually in cases where it's not arranged, right? Like, people just wanting to please their parents because you're dating someone your parent likes. But from what I've heard, I've had people say, well, this is, I didn't really get to know this person and it was arranged through family and I just wanted to please them. So I think that's a wrong reason. And I have had quite a few files like that. I've also had cases where it was marriage of convenience, right? And again, in this context, it's mostly my clients thinking, well, I believe this um, person married me because they wanted to gain an immigration advantage. And so, yeah, that's definitely a wrong reason to get married because now when they get their immigration status, of course, they're now having to seek a divorce. So moving on, let's see. Okay, this is still on getting married for the wrong reasons. Okay, so another reason here is lack of equality and identity. Um, I mean, I have had a lot of cases where people didn't feel heard in the relationship, where they felt controlled. So I guess if you're in an environment where your opinions don't matter, you're, constantly being controlled by your partner, then yeah, I that's a lack of equality for sure. I'm not fully sure I understand the identity part of it, but yes, I can agree that a lot of times where people do come to us for their divorces and part of the reasons that they give us, even though you really don't have to have a reason, but obviously we build relationships with our clients and we, get to know why they're going through the process. And yes, a lot of people want to just get out of a controlling situation and have a voice of their own. So yes, I can agree to the fact that lack of equality is something that we do see as a reason for divorces. Okay. Too much arguing and conflict. Yeah. For any of the reasons above, any of the things we've talked about generally lead to a lot too much arguing and conflict, even lack of communication. Because I'm sure some people would be like, I would even rather argue a lot with my partner rather than having them not talk at all. But yes, it just gets exhausted, right? If you're going to spend all your so much time arguing and dealing with conflict, you might as well separate. What I find with this reason, and we do see this, but not obviously it's not just in a vacuum, right? It's usually tied to other reasons that, on other causes or whatever that people identify as the reasons why they're always arguing. But I find that there's honestly people need to either get a grip, get control of this, especially where there's children, or you might as well just leave the situation sooner rather than later, because I find that parties arguing a lot and just keeping children in this environment of intense conflict, it's just not good. And by the time, people actually come to us, so much damage may have already been done to the children. And now, thankfully, if they listen, there's, and get therapeutic interventions, the kids would be fine. But sometimes, again, you might need the consent of both parents. And if they got to this point because of too much argument and conflict, you kind of see how that's a circle. So, yeah. Okay, what's the other reason? Unrealistic expectations. So let's see, what does this mean? Saying unrealistic expectations about where you live, the way the household should run, and even how you'll be treated as a spouse are common reasons for divorce. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, of course, no one's coming to me and saying, "Well, my expectations were unrealistic, and that's why I'm leaving this relationship." It's usually the other side that has, unrealistic expectations, and the other side, pulling their weight and expecting, our client to do everything. And of course, that's impossible. You can only do so much: hold a job, take care of the children, run the home, and all of the things in between. And so, yeah, I definitely do see that one. Let's see, any more reasons here? So we're still mismatched values. So this one says differences of opinions about religion, culture, gender, sexuality, and even one's political alliance have an impact on a relation, have more of an impact on a relationship that you would imagine. Um, I mean, I agree. I could definitely see how this is true, but this is one that I don't get told generally. Like, oh, we're here, I'm just going to divorce him because we don't, see eye to eye when it comes to what political party we're voting for. Wouldn't that be interesting? Like, yes, you voted conservative, I'm liberal, so yeah, we're getting a divorce now, but I can't. I I don't get to hear this a lot, but I can see how it would be an underlying factor, in creating conflict. It could be an underlying factor in even people shutting down and completely refusing to communicate. So while directly no one's telling me this, I definitely do agree that mismatched values can just sometimes be, too much, and it, lead people to decide to go their separate ways. Let's see. Do we have any more here? Lack of family support. So this says if your family doesn't agree with your marriage or approve of your partner, this may contribute to feelings of isolation and loneliness and then ultimately divorce. So yeah, we do hear people complain to us about their partners family and the lack of support and isolation that they feel. Absolutely, we get this one quite a bit as well. Again, this is one of those kind of not standalone reasons. There's usually other issues. This would probably come with some kind of domestic violence, abusive, controlling situations, and then that feeling of isolation when the partner is being backed by their family and one person kind of feels left alone. So yes, lack of family support. Let's see, how many more slides do I have here? Oh, lack of family support was the last one. So that's interesting that I mean the article wasn't all bad. Not all of the top reasons. I really don't even know where this article actually I could look here. The source is Psychology Today. So okay, so that it is credible. Well, I'll say most of the reasons that were listed in the article for why people get separated or divorced are, reasons that we encounter a lot in our practice. And some of them, even though we're not told directly, it makes sense that they could be underlying reasons for the things that, actually manifest in the form of conflict that ultimately lead to parties getting divorced. So, well, thanks for enjoying that with me. Yet another article down my belt, useless or useful, it's your call. Until next time, it's bye for now.